Hello, welcome to the online lecture number 13th of CS 531 Memory Systems and Architecture. Today in this lecture we will discuss three papers based on non-volatile memory and hybrid memories. Memory means last level cache only. I am not going to discuss main memories. So please note that whatever I'll discuss today is not directly related to your NSEM exam. I'm explaining it only for research purpose. If you are doing your term paper in this area, then maybe it will be beneficial for you. Or if you want to continue your research in this area, then also it will be beneficial. But these three paper will not be considered as a part of end semester exam. But yes, the small concept that I will discuss today, these concepts, for example, EDRAM, hybrid memories, STTRAM, all these things I have already explained previously also. So all these things are part of your answer. Please remember. But exactly the concept of these three papers are not included. And I am explaining it here because of completeness purpose mainly because I have just explained only one paper of right variation that means of NVM and only one paper of EDRAM. So it's not complete. So if I have started this area, then I should have completed at least 4 5 papers so that it looks like that I have explained it properly for you. So the main purpose of this class is not just passing the exam. My main aim for this course is to give you some idea about what is the recent research going on in this area and what are the possible area for where you can continue your future research. So that's why I have teaching this course in this format. So if you remember my last class, maybe if you remember the right variation thing that I have explained in last class, that in non-volatile memories, right endurance is very limited. If you go for any type of non-volatile memory, in every non-volatile memory, the right endurance is very limited as compared to SRAM and DRAM memories. So if we are designing a cache memory or mainly large level cache with non-volatile memory, then the right variation is very important. So for all this discussion in my previous class also, I assume that there is a set associative cache, right? And each last level cache is a set associative cache, and there are multiple last level cache or multiple last level banks are there. And I have also explained you a TCMP architecture, and I also having 16 LLC banks. So we have to remember this concept for today's discussion also, that there are multiple LLC banks and each bank is a set associative cache, and that set associative cache can be either made completely with the NVM technology or maybe combining with a hybrid technology of one part having SRAM and another part having non-volatile memories. And again, I'm not specifically mentioning which non-volatile memory because any non-volatile memory has the problem of write endurance limitation. So whatever non-volatile memory technology you are using, you have to handle the write variation issue efficiently. In last class, I have mentioned three types of write variation: intra-set write variation, inter-set write variation, and inter-bank write variation. So intra-set write variation I have already explained in last class, and I have explained two papers from my junior from IIT Guwahati. But I'm quickly explaining what is called intra-set write variation. So if you have a set associative cache designed with non-volatile memory, then within a particular set, if we concentrate just on a particular set, then the number of writes in different ways of this set are not uniform. Maybe in this set, if we assume that there are 8 ways, then maybe way number 1 and way number 7 is heavily written, but other 6 ways are not heavily written. So in this means that these 2 ways have high chance to get degraded very quickly as compared to the other ways. So that is called intra-set write variation. And then I have explained you interset right variation. In interset right variation, I have explained you that if there are multiple set in a set associative case, then the number of writes performed in each set is not uniform. Maybe there is one set where the number of writes is very high, and there is another set where the number of write is very low. That means it is not uniform. And I have also explained you that the same problem can be related with the utilization issue or the local utilization issue that I have explained just after mid-sem. And during when I have explained the local utilization issue, I have explained you that it has been found that the number of access to each set in a set associative cache is not uniform. There may be some set which is very heavily loaded, or you can say that the number of accesses is very high, and you'll also find some other set within the same cache where the number of access or the load is very low. That means the load is not evenly distributed among all the set, and that I have mentioned that that is a problem of local utilization issues. After explaining local utilization issues, I have explained four techniques. If I remember, four techniques to improve local utilization issues. Out of these four techniques, three techniques were VUA. This was the oldest technique. Then I have explained you SBC. Then I have explained you Zcash. That is sometimes people also call this as Zcash. And then I have also explained you my proposed idea that is called FSDAM. So all this technique I have explained you. If you don't remember all this technique, please check, please read them, because since these three techniques or the entire concept of local utilization, or you can say cache utilization part, I've explained or I've discussed it after midsem. So since I have discussed it after midsem, so utilization part is included in NSEM course syllabus. So even if you are not studying properly or these three papers that I am discussing today, but that local utilization part is very important. Please read those papers. And what I am advising here, that if you want to continue, if you want to watch this video, if you want to know the concept of these three paper, then pause this video and clear the concept of local utilization and global utilization. It will help you in NSEM also, as well as to understand these three paper easily. So now once you understand this utilization issue of local and global, let me again concentrate on local utilization issue, and we'll discuss this paper. So the paper mentioned here, this paper is published in TECO in 2016, I think. TECO is a very good journal. It is published in 2018, so very recent paper. So what this paper is saying, this paper is trying to handle interset right variation and interbank right variation. So interset right variation we can relate with local utilization, right? So all the solution of interset right variation is same as the solution of local utilization. That means the solution is same as SBC, Zcash, FSDAM, VUA, etc. Because what these local utilization solution are, local utilization solution are, if there is a set which is heavily loaded, then some of this load can be shared with some other lightly used set. The same thing here in interset right variation. If there is a set which is highly written, if there is a set which is highly written or number of writes is very high in a particular set, then some of this write can be distributed to other lightly written set. So almost the technique is similar, and you will find that in this paper they use the concept of Zcash or Zcash to improve the efficiency or improve the intercept right variation. I'm not explaining this paper in detail because most of this concept written here will be easy for you to understand. For example, in this section, in background and motivation section, basic concept of STTRAM, I think it is clear to you. I have already explained it. What is hybrid cache? I have already explained you. Hybrid cache is means one part is designed with SRAM and another part is designed with NVM. NVM can be either STT-RAM, mainly STT-RAM, because that part I have also explained that the other non-volatile memory like PCM are not good for last level cache, but STT-RAM and RERAM can be used for designing last level cache. So these are the different concept of basic concept of hybrid caches they have explained here. Then distributed cache partitioning. Distributed, or first of all you should understand what is distributed cache. So that I have already explained you even before midsem also. The diagram that I've explained called TCMP, and where I have explained that each tile has a core and his own private L1 and L2 caches, and each tile has a a slice of shared last level cache. And the diagram that I explained in last class have two level of caches. So L2 was considered as a last level cache. So if you see the diagram of my last class in TCMP diagram, you will see that each tile has a core, L1 cache, and a slice of L2 cache. L2 cache is actually shared, but it is distributed among multiple tiles. That is called distributed cache or distributed shared cache. And what is called cache partitioning, I think I have explained this concept of cache partitioning before midsem very properly, and we have discussed many paper on cache partitioning, so you know what is the problem of cache partitioning. So in this paper what they are saying is, if suppose there are two cores, so assume this TCMP architecture, instead of 16 cores there are only two cores, and both core are sharing the last level cache. So in this case, you have to partition the last level case such that based on the demand of the application running on a particular core, we should assign a fixed number of ways to a particular application. So this is called distributed cache and cache partitioning. I hope this thing is clear to you, or if you read it here, I think everything will be easy for you to understand. And next they have written here intra-bank and interbank write variation. So intra-bank write variation means there are two type of intra-bank write variation that I've explained. First is intra-set write variation and inter-set write variation, and it is inter-bank write variation. So intra-set and inter-set, I have already discussed this today also. Inter-bank write variation is same as global utilization issue. So if you remember, I have explained global utilization issue after mid-sem, that the global utilization issue means if since there are multiple LLC bank exist in a TCMP, it has been observed that the load of each bank is not uniform. Some banks are heavily loaded and some banks are almost ideal or very lightly loaded. The same thing, the similar concept is also true for a write in variation. It has been found that in non-volatile memories, some banks designed with non-volatile memories are facing very heavily write, and some banks may be facing very less number of writes. So the number of writes are not uniformly distributed. And I hope you remember that why we are trying to distribute the write uniformly. It's not because of latency. It is because of the limitation of write endurance. If you constantly write on a particular place for multiple times, then that particular cell will damage much faster than as compared to other cell. So if one cell is damaged, then the entire row or entire bank maybe will become useless. So the number of writes must be distributed uniformly across the sets as well as across the banks. So I hope the intra-bank and inter-bank right variation is clear to you. You can read this paper. This same thing is written in this section. Maybe in language or way presentation will be different, but it is almost similar thing. And this is their TCMP architecture they have used. The architecture is slightly different. It is a 16 core tiles. There is tile. Each tile has a LLC bank partitioning software, and there is a core L1 cache. There is write intensity monitor, and all these hardware write intensity monitor is required for this paper. They propose some technique, and based on this technique, this write intensity monitor is required. This is required for interbank write variation, which I'm not going to explain in detail. First of all, we'll try to explain interset write variation. Okay, so before going, so architecture section, in this section they explain this architecture only. You can try to read it. But actually, this paper you can also relate with the TCMP architecture that I have explained in last class, interbank optimization. So we'll discuss interbank write optimization here. So as I said, sorry, intrabank. So in intrabank, we'll not discuss intraset. Intraset write variation I've already discussed in last class. Today we'll only discuss about interset write variation. So in interset write variation is exactly same as the problem of local utilization issues. They have proposed two techniques. One technique to improve the interset write variation, and another technique to improve the interbank write variation. So actually they try to use local utilization issues to resolve interset write variation, and some problems which is solving global utilization issue. The same problem they modified to improve the interbank write variation. So it's interesting, but it is very easy technique. They try. It's not completely new technique. They try to use the utilization technique that we have used for utilization purpose here for improving the ride variation. So to understand interset ride variation, see, if you read here, they have mentioned all these local utilization issue techniques, that is Q associative case, Z case, VUA, all these things I have explained in class. So now if you remember this diagram of Zcash, and again I'm saying if you don't remember Zcash, then just go and check my previous slides. It will not be available in online lectures because just after mid-sem, the three lectures that I have taken in campus, and during these three lectures I've explained you Zcash. So the PPT is available, or the paper is also shared in Google Classroom. You can read the PPT, try to understand the concept of Zcash, then only you will understand. So Zcash is based on skew associative cache. So in Zcash, how it is performed, for example, suppose before understanding Zcash, first try to understand the structure of this last level cache. So this is a set associative LLC bank where this part is designed with SRAM and this part is designed with STT-RAM. So it's a hybrid memory. It's not a complete NVMe memory. It's a hybrid memory. And this is a one particular bank where there are three ways are there. So one way is SRAM and two other two ways are STT-RAM. Now, suppose according to Zcash, if a new entry W need to be write or need to be placed in the cache, then this new entry should be placed in W1. Suppose in this position it is placing according to the hashing technique of Zcash, but oh, we don't. But Zcash will not replace this. W3 will be placed here, but ultimately W2 will be replaced. How? Because W3 will be placed here in place of W1, and W1 will go to in place of R1, and R1 will come to in place of W2, and ultimately W2 will be removed from the cache. So if this is the situation, in this situation, if we want to insert W3 in place of W1, then ultimately it will become this. I'm not explaining it in detail. It is because of the associative means hashing technique used in Zcash. Just understand this concept here. I'm again repeating the same. If W3 wants to write in place of W1, then it will replace W1 here, but that W1 will not evict from cache. This W1 will be mapped here in place of R1, and this R1 will be mapped in place of W2, and ultimately W2 will be evicted from the cache. So from this final status of the cache will be this. So now what is the problem here? Can we use the same thing for this intercept write variation? There is a problem. The problem here is, since here the Z cache can be uniformly distributing the loads among the cache, but the problem here you can see when we are swapping all these elements from here to here, just check here. We are writing W3 here and we are moving W1 from here to here. What do you mean by moving? Moving means you are writing it in STTRAM. If you move W1 from here and now W1 is written here, that means we are moving W1 from here to, and moving means we have to write it in STTRAM. So we are creating one write operation in STTRAM, and our main idea is to reduce the number of writes in STTRAM. So this is not acceptable. So they are trying to improve that. We want to use the concept of Zcash so that we can uniformly distribute the number of writes, but still we must handle the number of writes in STTRAM. So what they did here, they use this type of tag. The concept here is same as VUA. If you remember the concept of VUA, they have separated the tag and data, but they use a double size tag here, a tag as compared to the data. And data part was completely independent, that any data part can store any block, and they were pointed by some forward and reverse pointers, if you remember. So again, I'm saying here, if you don't remember VUA, read it, because that the concept of VUA is part of your answer. And if you understand Zcash VUA, then this paper is will be very easy for you to understand. So what they use here, instead of going for all this movement, they separately maintain a tag to data pointer. So here you can say that the tag part is stored here, and from this tag part there will be a pointer which will point that which data location they need to read for this block. For example, in the same situation is stored here, the same situation is mentioned here with the tag data. So the tag are placed in the same position. So now this tag is pointing this data, this tag is pointing this data, and this tag of R1 is pointing this block. So this part is clear. So now concentrate on this. So now when we'll go for Zcash and we want to insert another data W3 in the place of W1, we'll only change this tag part. Will not change the physically this part, will only change the tag part like this. From tag part from here will be converted to this. And if you try to relate these two picture, then you can relate these two picture with this picture and this picture. So they according to Zcash, they are moving the block, but they are not moving the actual data. They are just changing the pointers. See. So in this case, what this paper is proposing, that they are using the utilization issue of power of Zcash, but the problem that Zcash is facing, that it is going for unnecessary writes in STRAM. They are handling it, or they are preventing it by using this tag to data pointer. But if you know the concept of VUA and Zcash both, you will understand that this is just a combination of VUA and Zcash. It means that if you want to publish a good paper, then you must have all the knowledge of existing papers, existing proposal. Even if you wanna know, if you, even if you are not getting a completely new idea, then also sometimes it is possible to express something or combining with some other existing techniques. So inter-set right variation I've already explained. The another part of this chapter is interbank right variation. Interbank right variation, the way the approach they propose here to resolve the interbank right variation is that they will observe the number of rights happening in each bank, and in this way they will combine the number of application. For example, suppose now there is a bank called bank number 5. In this bank number 5, application 1 and application 2 are sharing this bank, and now application 1 is very write intensive, but application 2 is not very write intensive, so it is fine. But in this bank, if both applications, after some time both application becomes write intensive application, then they will try to remove or remap one application to another bank. So that means they periodically check the write intensity of each bank, and based on this, they remap the application such that the number of writes becomes uniform throughout the banks. So I'm not explaining this concept in detail, but you can try to relate interbank with DNUCA also. If you remember the concept I have explained in DNUCA, that instead of one set in SNUCA, in DNUCA you can write a block in any bank in the bank set. So you can, that means you can uniformly distribute the number of load and the loads. So in the same concept you can apply for right variation also. I'm just giving you a hint that interbank right variation can also be solved using the concept of DNUCA. But I don't currently I have not found any paper based on this. So maybe you can explore this area, that how to improve the right variation using DNUCA. But remember the point I've explained in class, that DNUCA are complicated as compared to SNUCA. So when you will go to and try to implement DNUCA in a simulator, full system level simulator like GEM 5, it is not as easy as compared to SNUCA. But anything is doable, right? So DNUCA also follows a protocol and logic, so you can design it in GEM 5. It's not like that it's impossible, but yes, it's complicated as compared to SRAM. So that's it from this paper. So the next paper I'll explain is this paper. So this paper is also based on a hybrid memory designed with SRAM and NVM. And this paper is also trying to distribute the writes. So mainly it is trying to perform maximum writes on SRAM, or you can say do how to perform maximum writes on SRAM part. So this is the structure they use for this paper. This is a structure of hybrid cache. You can see this part is designed with SRAM, and these parts are designed with SRAM, and these parts are designed with NVM. So this is the data part, and this is the tech part. So the main concept of this paper is how to partition a cache, or how to partition the last level cache among multiple cores such that the number of writes in NVM should be reduced. So assume that in this particular cache there are three ways. In this particular bank there are three ways. One way is SRAM, same as the previous paper I was explaining, and two ways are for NVM. We have to partition this cache among core A and core B. Assume there are only two cores. There are only three ways. So either we should give two ways to core A and one ways to core B, or two ways to core B and one way to core A. But the main concept here is we have to partition this case in such a way that the number of writes in the NVM should be reduced. So if we check here the number of this partition here, there is no specific partition mentioned. Only a simple replacement policy is handling managing here. So even if just a simple LRU policy is maintaining here, and these are the read sequence A1, A2, A3. All these reads from written with A are from application A, that is from core A, or all the read requests starting with B, that is B1, B2, B3 are from application B, that is from core B. Right. So now if you see here, these are the different requests coming, and based on this request, these blocks are fetching in the cache. So there is one concept you'll see here called line fill. Line fill means whenever we are fetching a new block and we are placing in the cache, they are saying it line fill. That means we are filling a line. If we remember the basic concept, that cache block is also called as line. So line fill means we are filling a block. That means we are fetching a block from memory and placing it in the cache. That is called line fill. So since first time when we'll read for A1, A1 is not in cache, we have to fetch it. That means we have to fill it here. That's why it is called line fill SRAM. And this part, this black part is SRAM. This gray part is SRAM. So we are filling it in SRAM. So it is line fill SRAM for A1. Then after this, read A2. Since A1 is already filled and here, then these two are blank on these two are empty. So we have to put a fill A2 here. So it is line fill in NVM. Next, we are going for write A3. A3 is also not in the cache here, so we have to bring A3 again. And since A1 and A2 are full, so we have to place it here. That means it is line fill of again NVM. Now, if you go for read B1, in this case, if we follow the LRU policy, then L1 A1 is the oldest one. So we'll remove A1 and place B1 here. So again, it's a new block we're fetching here. So again, it's a line fill here. But this line fill is line fill in SRAM because in the gray part. So in this way, you can see here that different types of line fill, write hit and read hit, different all this category based on this read request are written here. You can try to relate it one by one, you'll easily understand it. But at the end, if you see here, there is no specific partition showing here. But so if you go for this, you'll find that total SRAM write is 3 here and total NVM write is 6 here. So now most of the partitioning technique that we have discussed earlier are dividing the partition only based on number of misses. So this paper is saying that this is their motivation, because sometimes if you divide a case, this type of case where a part is SRAM and another part is designed with NVM, and if you try to what do you say partition this case based on only based on number of misses, then sometime you may partition it like this, that core A is getting this two ways and core B is getting this way. Because if you see the number of requests here, you'll get that core A is getting more misses, or the application A is getting more misses. Since application A is getting more misses, then we have to give him the bigger part. Remember, there are only three ways to partition. So partition must be 2 is to 1, 2 and 1. So since number of A is getting more number of misses, so we'll give two ways to core A and one way to core B. So the way is fine, but which two ways? So maybe the partition can be going this way also. That first two is to core A and core B the last way. That means core A is only assigned to the NVM memory, but core A is half NVM, half STT-RAM. So if you partition it in this way, then you can see that the number of misses are like this. Total SRAM write is 3, total NVM write is 5. So you can see that the number of NVM write is reduced from 6 to 5. But what they are saying that according to they are saying that if we can do some more improvement, then it is better. So they said that most of the time the existing partitions are only based on the number of misses. If somehow we can calculate the number of line fill and number of write hits also, if we consider these two parameters, that line fill and number write hits based on the during the partition, and somehow if we can partition instead of this, if we give these two ways to core A and this way to core B, then you can see that the application B is now assigning to SRAM, and application A is assigning to NVM. If you go for this type of partition and you perform this read request, then you will see this type of results. Total SRAM write is 4, total NVM write is 4. So I'm not explaining their concept in detail, but their concept is like this. Then in they are partitioning this case in, with the with uh, with the knowledge of this thing also, the line fill, number of line fill, number of write hit, together with number of misses. The third paper that I will discuss today is an old paper. It's not a very recent paper, but it's an interesting paper. That's why I'm discussing. It's a 2011 paper, and it is not related with NVM. It is related. It is a hybrid flash level case, but designed with SRAM and EDRAM. So I hope you remember. I have also explained in maybe in online lecture number 11 regarding EDRAM. What is EDRAM? What is the difference between the commodity DRAM and EDRAM? And what are the different type of cell that you can use for EDRAM? And during EDRAM discussion, I have explained you that there is a cell possible called gain cell to design EDRAM such that the read operation is not destructible. That means when we read the data from this type of cell, gain cell, then the charge is not destroyed. So everything regarding EDRAM I have already explained. Everything SRAM is already explained. So now, if we design a hybrid SRAM plus EDRAM design, then what is the advantage? Can you can pause the video and you can try to understand or try to answer this question by yourself. That what is the advantage of combining SRAM and EDRAM? So the advantage of EDRAM is it has high density compared to SRAM, at least 3 times more density than SRAM. This is the first advantage. Second advantage of EDRAM is leakage energy consumption is less than SRAM, but there are some disadvantages of EDRAM also. The first disadvantage of EDRAM is the EDRAM is slower than SRAM cells. This is the first disadvantage. Second disadvantage is periodic refresh. So both SRAM and EDRAM has advantage and disadvantage. So combining them together, we have to combine in such a way that we can consume the advantage of both the technologies SRAM and EDRAM. So you can see this particular paper is based on a dynamic NUCA architecture that was they previously proposed. It is called HK NUCA. So there was a paper they published in 2010 called HK NUCA. So on top of HK NUCA, they have proposed this hybrid memory concept. So if you remember my lectures before midsem, I have explained the concept of DNUCA and centralized CMPs in when I was explaining centralized CMPs, I explained you that the codes will be placed in the four side or two side of the chip, and the entire last level case is placed in at the uh, middle section of the chip, a contiguous location of the chip. So this is kind of a centralized CMP design. I have also explained you that the DNUCA design for TCMP was not there, and we first proposed it in 2015. A design we first proposed it. So this since this paper is from 2011, so this is based on centralized DNUCA. So centralized CMP, DNUCA is implemented on centralized CMP. So this is the last level cache divided into multiple banks, and now these banks are divided into multiple bank sets. So they have a complicated logic of bank set here. What is their logic? So they'll say this is a bank cluster. You can see there are 8 banks in this bank cluster. So they are saying that this bank cluster has a bank from each bank set. So I'm repeating it what they said, that this is a bank cluster where there are 8 banks. So they have divided the bank set in such a way that each bank cluster has a bank from each bank set. So this is also a concept or the way of designing bank set, but let me make it very simple to explain you. Let me assume that the bank set are the columns, or you can say that 2 columns equal to one bank set, same as the way I have explained you bank set. I hope you remember the bank set concept of DNUCA, right? So just assume in same way that these two columns are designing one bank set, and next 2 columns are designing another bank set. In this way also you can understand it. Okay. So another concept here is all these gray lines, these dashed rectangles are EDRAM, and these white rectangles are SRAM. So you can see that in this LLC design, this nearby the banks which are near to the core are SRAM. Here also the banks which are near to the core are SRAM, and the middle banks are all EDRAM. So if we design a cache like this or a CMP like this, so the main disadvantage here is the concept of migration. I hope when I have explained you migration, and I have also explained you that the problem of migration in case of DNUCA is most of the time when a block will be migrated from one core to another, the shared blocks, so they will try to concentrate on the central location, because both sides, for example, there is a block which is requesting by this core and this core both. So when this core will request, the block will try to move in this direction, and when the core 5 will request, then the same block will try to move in this direction. So ultimately the block will try to settle down in the central banks, and if you see, all the central banks are EDRAM base, which are very slow compared to SRAM. So more, and also I have already explained you that it has been found that the number of shared blocks are relatively less compared to the number of private blocks, but the number of requests to these shared blocks is very high. So it means that if all the share blocks are try to uh, allocate themselves in the central banks, and these accessing these central banks are very low, very lengthy compared to SRAM, then it will degrade the performance efficiently. So so this design is not efficient design. Instead of this, they said that it is better to use this type of design. So in this type of design, they have distributed both the EDRAM and SRAM bank uniformly across the LLC. So here you can see that the concept, the problem of migration will not come. We can handle the problem of migration here because SRAM is found in throughout the bank set. It's not like in only one area of bank set SRAM blocks are there. So now the main question, I hope you understand the what is the importance of designing a cache combining SRAM and DRAM. Why not is complete with SRAM? Only because of the area overhead. Because if we go for EDRAM kind of design, then EDRAM has very high density over SRAM. So designing a larger capacity LLC is possible if we go for this type of hybrid design. But if we go for this type of hybrid design, then there is a disadvantage of EDRAM. We have to handle the two disadvantages. They are slow and periodic refresh. So we have to handle this. So I'm not discussing this paper in more detail because as I've already mentioned at the beginning of this lecture that whatever I'm explaining today are not part of your NSM exam, but you can read all this paper. These are very interesting if you want to continue your research in this area. So the next week we'll discuss, there will be two lectures, and in these two lectures we'll discuss about cache memory securities or securities in cache memory, and then I will finish this course. I'm stopping here today. Thank you. See you in next week.